This is problem 2.03 from Francois Tardieu's Backgammon Strategic Concepts book from chapter 2, Should You Leave Your Advanced Anchor? We say we've established an advanced anchor when we've taken the two checkers that started off on the 24 point at the beginning of the game and moved them up or advanced them to either the 22 point or the 21 point or the 20 point or the 18 point. Securing an early advanced anchor is an asset which benefits our game in numerous ways. It enables us to play boldly because it makes it easier for us to escape our back checkers, and it makes it easier for us to re-enter if we get hit. An advanced anchor reduces our opponent's choices of game plans because it limits our opponent's chances of blocking us in with a priming game, and it limits our opponent's chances of blitzing us in a blitzing game. An advanced anchor forces our opponent to play more cautiously because it gives us better control over our opponent's outfield board, and we can more easily hit our opponent's blots in their outfield. Securing an early advanced anchor is certainly an asset in the opening phase of a game, but we must know when to give it up. Several factors should influence our decision. Things like the race. We should only consider possibly running from our back anchor if we're ahead in the race. We should look at the relative strength of our inner board or prime compared to our opponents and only consider running if our inner board or prime is stronger than our opponents. We should look at the threats facing us if we do run from our advanced anchor. If the threats are low of being hit, then that's a sign we might want to consider running. And we should look at the flexibility of our board and our opponents. If staying back on our anchor will hurt or damage our flexibility, then we might want to consider leaving our advanced anchor. We must weigh all these factors in order to make our decision. As is usual in backgammon, there are always exceptions. Here's the position. We're blue. We rolled a 6-3. Our home board's in the bottom right. We've established this 22-point anchor. Look at the two top moves and try to figure out which one is best. One of the moves breaks our anchor. The other move keeps our anchor and comes down to the 4-point instead. I'll give you my quick observations on each move, some of Tardieu's key points, Tardieu's expert analysis with feedback from XG, Tardieu's summary, and at the end of the video, I'll modify the position, which raises a few questions. Here's the first possible move, 22-13, running from our anchor, like this. This runs when we're ahead in the race. Runs when white's 8-point and 5-point are stripped. Safely escapes one of our back checkers. However, it leaves a vulnerable blot in white's inner board. And white's home board is a little stronger than ours. White has the 5 and 6 points made. We have the 4 and 6 points made. The 5-point is a little stronger than the 4-point. Second move is to not break the anchor and move 13-4 instead. This unstacks our midpoint, brings a 10th checker down into the zone, leaves no blots. However, it does add a builder on a fairly deep point, the 4-point, and it passes up a chance to escape one of our back checkers. To recap the factors to consider when we're deciding whether or not to run from our advanced anchor, we need to consider the race, consider running only if we're leading. If the race is even or we're trailing, we should probably stay. We should consider the strength of our inner board or prime compared to our opponents. If we have a stronger inner board or prime, then we might want to run. If the threat of being hit by running off of our advanced anchor is low, that's a sign we might want to consider running. And we should look at the flexibility and distribution of both our board and our opponent's board. Generally, we should keep our anchor until our position begins to get rigid and flexible. And we should look at the opponent's board, look and see if they have any strip points, because if they do, we might consider probably staying on our advanced anchor and having the opponent possibly deteriorate their position or leave some shots for us because their board is stripped, their checkers are stripped. Here are the two final boards, two final positions. Take a look at each of the positions, compare each one, think which one looks best to you. Think of the pip count, the threats facing each player, the strength of each player's board, and the factors that should influence our decision of whether to run or not. Here's the before and after the play where we break our anchor, 22-13. Here's the before and after the play where we don't break the anchor, 13-4. And let's see what Tardieu and XG have to say. The play where we're moving 13-4 and keeping our back anchor, Tardieu says White's board is slightly better than ours, which supports making this move. However, we damage our flexibility and distribution by bearing a checker on our 4-point, while our key 5 and 7 points have not yet been made. The fact that we're 15 pips ahead after this roll tilts the scales in favor of making the other move, which runs from our anchor. And here's the other move, the top-rated move, breaking our anchor, moving 22-13, like this. Importantly, we are ahead in the race by 15 pips after this roll. Our opponent's 8-point is stripped, and the checkers on White's midpoint are not yet within easy reach of our blot on the 22-point. As such, it's better to abandon our anchor while White hasn't brought their full firepower to bear on it and has not yet consolidated their position. Moreover, on the next roll, White will need to choose between attacking or taking care of their split back checkers, which are vulnerable. Tardieu summary: even right at the beginning of a game, it may be correct to leave a freshly built anchor, especially a 3-point anchor. 3-point anchor is one of the weaker advanced anchors. If I modify the position, take away our lead, what I've done is I've moved a checker from the opponent's midpoint here, the 12, or his 13, moved it down here to the 24-point, his 1. So now it's about an even race. When we take away our racing lead, we should keep our advanced anchor. I believe this emphasizes the necessity of being ahead in the race before considering to leave our advanced anchor. I think I'm interpreting this correctly, but I might be missing something. Let me know if you agree or not, or if you have a question or a comment. Make sure to check out Sunny Florida Backgammon Club's YouTube channel, where they have a series of backgammon lessons covering Tardieu's book, as well as check out Jason Lee's YouTube channel. I especially like his Mid-Atlantic Backgammon Club study sessions, very helpful. I also find Dan Rivera's Backgammon is Beautiful YouTube channel to be very helpful. He's a top international player and a teacher, And his website is called Backgammon. His YouTube station is our channel is called Backgammon is Beautiful.